readers tonight. We can through Facebook, and and if you're on YouTube, which I'm going to be looking at two different cameras here. If you're in YouTube, you can join our live chat. Okay. So let me know if you'd like to be one of the readers, and I will bring you on camera. You don't have to have your own face. You can have your little icon, shofar guy icon on there. Oh, good. Good. Yay. All right. Okay. All right. Well, we are getting ready to read this week's parsha, and looks like we've got a couple of people joining on YouTube, and one joining on Facebook. So I'll be kind of addressing both of you. I'll try to um, talk talk to everybody at the same time. All right, and if any, I'm going to wait a minute to make sure that everybody's on. Who wants to be on? Um, I want to see if somebody has commented. Shalom, Chris. Shalom. Good to see you. And Craig says he is ready to learn. Okay. Well, good. Okay. Well, why don't we get started? As I always like to do, let's start with a word of prayer. Avinu Malkeinu, our Father, our King. Lord, we love you. And we love your word, and especially the living word, your Son, Messiah Yeshua. Father, we ask that you would be here in our midst as we study your word, as we delve into who you are and who we are in during this time. Father, we thank you and bless you for your word. Hashem Yeshua HaMashiach. Amen. Okay. Well, there's a little bit of ruckus outside the door. Some people are doing some late night shopping at the little market at the doors. Try to be focused on what we have to do. Before we get started, I wanted to remind everybody that not only do we have Midweek Midrash on Wednesday evenings at 6:30, we've also got our Shabbat services on Saturdays in the afternoon at 1 o'clock. And of course, it's an oneg, fellowship. I guess it's not really lunch because it's late, so it's kind of dinner. But we get together for fellowship afterward and some food, and meet at 1 o'clock, like I said, every Sabbath at 521 South State Street, suite number 7. And that is inside the State Street Commons. So there's a blue awning out front on the State Street side where you can find us, and you can enter that way, or you can go around the back of the building and come in that way. There's more parking back there if you come. We also broadcast. Um, we also broadcast the service at that time. Okay. Oh, okay. Had to turn microphone on, but not sure how it will work. Okay. Good. You can hear me. Um, if you would like to be, John, if you would like to be on and be one of the readers, I can bring you on stage. So let me know. And of course, you do have to have your microphone on. For those who are tuning in, if you've got YouTube on, you might have to mute it when you are speaking. Okay, you can do that. Okay, I'm going to bring you on. Add. All right, so we're adding Yohanan. We should be soon. Okay. Oh, shalom. There he is. Oh, you're sounding like R2D2. Okay, okay, you sound good now. Okay, real good. Okay, so anybody else who would like to come on? I know Craig comes on too. Um, so okay, somebody else messaged me. Okay, Craig, I hope you're on here too. Okay, I'm looking to see. Maybe he's on. It looks like he's on YouTube. So I guess I guess we had two voices tonight. Okay, so we are reading Parsha number 18, which is Mishpatim, meaning judgments. And that is beginning at Shemot Exodus 21, verse 1. And we're going to read um, until chapter 24, verse 18. And taking a little sip of my tea. Okay, so I will also have that on screen. Okay, there it is, right there. Um, just rearranging things. All right. What we usually do is I begin by reading a few verses, and then I'll say, "John, you take the next few verses," and back and forth. And whoever wants to jump on Facebook, they can too. Okay, this is Shemot, Exodus 21, verse 1. These are the right rulings which you are to set before them. When you buy a Hebrew servant, he serves 6 years, and on the seventh he goes out free from naught. If he comes in by himself, he goes out by himself. If he comes in married, then his wife shall go out with him. If his master has given him a wife, and she has borne him sons or daughters, the wife and her children are her master's, and he goes out by himself. And if the servant truly says, I love my master, my wife, and my children, let me not go out free, then his master shall bring him before Elohim, and shall bring him to a door, or to the doorpost. And his master shall pierce his ear with an awl, and he shall serve him forever. Okay, so we're beginning reading about how slaves are treated. And understand, for those of you who are, we do abhor slavery as this country had exercised it for the most part, and is continuing to do so. But slavery in Bible times, there was a little bit of a difference, especially among the Hebrews. It was more of an indentured servant, and I'm sure there were some masters that were not very kind. They could have been cruel to their servants, but that would not be Yahweh's way. And so when it says talks about slaves or servants here, it's it's meaning an indentured servant. Now in Egypt, slavery was even different than that, and I'm sure there were some kind slave masters, but from what we read, the slavery in Egypt was it wasn't pleasant, to say the least. Um, and then it goes on to say, it tells if the slave has a wife and children, the conditions, being his wife and children must stay. But if he decides to stay and continue in his servitude, then he would get his ear pierced, basically. Now, I've got pierced ears, but I'm only a slave to Messiah, so um, it's a little different now. Okay, John, do you have anything to add? Okay, do you want to begin at verse 7 and read until the end of 12?
A man's daughter to be a female slave, she shall not go out. This is no slaves do. If she does not please her master who has betrothed her to himself, then she shall let her, that he shall let her be redeemed. He shall have no right to sell her to a foreign people, since he has dealt secretly with her. But if he has betrothed her to his son, he shall deal with her according to the custom of his daughter. If he takes another wife, he shall not diminish her food, her clothing, and her marriage rights. And if he does not do these three things for her, then she shall go free without paying money. On law concerning violence, verse 12. He who strikes a man so that he dies, he shall surely be put to death.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of a disconnect there. Um, so he's he ta- in verse 10 it talks about him taking another wife. Um, this is not Yahweh's best. We know that. His best is one man, one woman, forever. That's one and one equals four. So that's Yahweh's math. But because of the way human beings are, they tend to want more than they're given. So, but he's still supposed to treat that wife the same way he treats his first. And if he cannot provide those things, then she goes free. Do you have anything to add on that?
No, just one wife that did this.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
Yeah. I'm not sure if more than one wife would be a blessing.
So,
Yeah, he would go from husband to referee.
yeah, that's
Okay, and maybe that's why they brought in the rules of having to do with violence. We don't know. Okay, so it speaks about striking a man. So um, if that man dies from being struck, then the one who strikes the man would be put to death. So it's life for life. Okay, going on. But if he did not lie in wait, if he if this was not premeditated, but Elohim delivered him into his hand, then I shall appoint for you a place where he is to flee. But when a man acts presumptuously against his neighbor to kill him by treachery, you are to take him even from my altar to die. And he who smites his father or his mother shall certainly be put to death. And he who kidnaps a man and sells him, or if he is found in his hand, shall certainly be put to death. Okay, so basically, if this would cover an accidental death, if you accidentally run over somebody in a car or in your chariot, um, if it's an accidental thing, you have a place to run, a place of refuge. But if this was premeditated and Yahweh didn't say, okay, I'm going to deliver this person to you to get rid of him in the worst possible way, um, then he'll be protected. But if this is premeditated, if it's not something that Yah told him to do, even when he's in the place of sanctuary, he can be drug out of that and dealt with. So, okay. And if you have any comments, John, as we go, just kind of let me know. Okay, Craig says he can hear you fine, and there's no perceived time delay between Alicia and John's voice. Oh, good. So we can sing in harmony. Okay. Let's see. Craig says, I can see the scripture on my screen, but I don't see how I can read, so you and everyone can hear. Okay. Craig, you can only be a reader if you're on Facebook, because it's just the way it's set up. We'll improve. But if you would like to be a reader on Facebook, come on over and hop on. Um, use your iPhone for one thing and your other phone for the other. Okay. All right. So we're going on. Um, all right, now we're dealing with other people. Okay, starting at verse 17, John, if you would begin and let's see. Uh, yes, let's see, 17. Yeah, 17 and oh, you just read. I guess it's my turn, isn't it? I just read. Oh, okay. Okay. Um, all right. So you start at 17 and go until the end of 21.
Oh, okay. He who curses his father or his mother shall surely be put to death. If men contend with each other and one strikes the other with a stone or with his fist, he does not die but is confined to his bed. If he rises again and walks about outside with his staff, then he who struck him shall be acquitted. He shall only pay for the loss of his time, and he shall provide for him to be thoroughly healed. And if a man beats his male or female servant with a rod, so that he dies under his hand, he shall surely be punished. Notwithstanding, if he remains alive a day or two, he shall not be punished, for he is his property.
Okay. Okay, so it gets a little more detailed here. Of course, we begin with the fifth commandment. We're supposed to respect our mother and father. We're not supposed to curse them. And it's pretty drastic. They're serious here. It says, "He who curses his father or his mother shall certainly be put to death." So this is very, very serious. Um, yeah. Go ahead. Yeah. Right. Well, at the end of the commandment does say, respect honor your father and your mother so that you will live long in the land. So, yeah, you don't want to be cut off there. Um, yeah. Okay. So then it goes and speaks about when men are striving together. In other words, they're fighting, and one strikes the other with a stone. With a weapon. Basically, that's a weapon, or with his fist. Um, and he's injured, but he doesn't die, and he's confined to his bed. The one who struck him is hook for his expenses, you know. And I'm applying this to now missing work. You have to provide for that guy. You have to provide for his medical care and everything that he needs until he's completely healed. Nowadays, people sue each other, and so people always want more, I guess. Um, but maybe that's because a lot of people wouldn't think twice about striking somebody and not paying the consequences. So you kind of do have to go after them nowadays. Um, okay, and then it goes to okay. So, and if the person that was confined to his bed, if he rises again and walks about outside with his staff, so he's still mobile, he's able to get places, then he who smote him shall be innocent. Interesting. And he only pays for lost time and sees to it that he is completely healed. So the person that caused injury, they're supposed to continue to provide until he's completely healed. And then when a man strikes his male or female servant with a rod, so that that servant dies under his hand, then he shall certainly be punished. Um, in the early days of this country, and even back in Egypt, if you killed a servant, if you killed a slave, you didn't pay um, anything. You weren't jailed, you weren't punished at all, um, because they didn't consider these slaves as human beings. So it was like chattel, a cow or a goat or something, you know. Um, but it says here he's not punished, for he is his property if he remains alive. So if he's alive, the person, is beat by his master. Uh, that master doesn't have to pay anything. It's just if that slave dies. Okay. Um, okay. Any comment? I'm gonna check the chat. Any comment? Okay. And Craig, you're welcome to come on. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Marvel and Vela Torres is on. If you would like to be on camera and if you would like to read, Mario, um, let me know. Okay, so going on, let's see. Okay, 22. I feel like I'm doing a juggling act, going between two cameras and who read last. And I forget. I'm having a senior moment, John. Did I read last or did you read last? Pardon?
I read last.
Okay. All right. I should just like put a marker there to let me know. Okay, going on, verse 22. Okay, I'm gonna bring Mario on if you would like to be on. Okay, doesn't want to be on. Okay, starting at 22. And when men strive, and they shall smite a pregnant woman, and her children come out, yet there is no injury, he shall certainly be punished accordingly, as the woman's husband lays upon him, and he shall give through the judges. But if there is injury, then you shall give life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burn for burn, wound for wound, lash for lash. And when a man smites, okay, and I'll stop there. Okay, so those people, those people nowadays who say, well, nowhere in the Bible does it talk about abortion. Um, Abortion is the process whereby you remove a child from the womb, whether it's on purpose or not. That child is aborted. And I don't even want to use the word fetus because so many people use that to cover up the fact that this is a child. I remember the book, there was a book, a children's book author, Dr. Seuss. Um, he wrote, "A person is a person, no matter how small." And this is certainly true for the child which is in the womb. And those that say, well, it's not a human being until it has come out and breathed its first breath of air, that's simply not true. And I think those who are on here tonight, I'm sure you all believe that. Um, I was listening to it was a radio program I was listening to earlier today, and they said that even science says that by the third day of gestation, the child has a heartbeat. So for those that say, well, it's not until the child breathes first outside the womb that it's a real person, they are either deceived or they're lying. So here is biblical, um, something biblical that we can hang on to that shows that child is worthy of life. And when that child is aborted even by accident, it's a child. It's a child. So here the person who is striving with the woman's husband, or or maybe two men not known to the woman are fighting, and somehow she gets injured, and that child is miscarried. Um, Somebody's got to pay. So okay, and leave that open. Any comments from? Okay, I'm not getting any comments from YouTube so far. Okay, anything that you have, John? Okay, I don't know. That's a subject that is very close to my heart, being a mom. You know, and anyway,
We also mentioned an eye for an eye, tooth for tooth. Is it mentioned elsewhere?
um,
Trying
if it's not mentioned, I believe it is. I'm not sure where, but at the very least, it is mentioned. Maybe not using those exact words. You get the idea that um, there is a price to pay for injury, and you know you see it. You know, even in the renewed covenant, you see it with um, you know, people being stoned to death for causing injury, maybe not even physical, but you know, stealing from someone. Um, if you steal somebody's food and they're not able to eat, or you steal from them so they cannot have any way of livelihood, it's like killed them. So there's got to be some kind of punishment, some kind of retribution. So I would have to look that up. I'll have to see it, see where that is.
References in my Bible, but it's not.
Okay, I'm gonna check it up. Okay, all right. So, ah, okay, Leviticus. Yeah, Leviticus 24, 17 to 22.
Okay.
Yeah, and also, oh, yes, there's like actually a whole bunch of references. Okay. Um, yeah, Deuteronomy. Yeah, that's more of murder of somebody's character, bearing false witness. You know, that would be something. Matthew 5:38 through 48. You have heard that it was said, eye for eye and tooth for tooth. And this is Yeshua speaking. I tell you, do not resist the person. If anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to them the other cheek also. And it goes from there. Incidentally, the many people who read about, speak about turning the other cheek, this is kind of a colloquialism. It's not. I mean, it may be used to say that if somebody does something to you, then change your attitude toward them, or um, you know, don't turn away from them, but you know, still, you know, pray for them, bless them, that sort of thing. But it also is a okay. Back then, when you slapped somebody, it was an insult, it was a challenge to um, start a fight, you know, that was more serious. Um, and if you were slapping somebody who was a free person, if they were of the same status that you were in that culture, then you would slap them with the palm of your hand. So it would basically be slapping the left cheek. Okay. Here they're talking about the right cheek, which indicates that they are being slapped by the back of the hand. This is an insult. This is what you do to people who are lower, who are slaves. Okay, so when you slap somebody with, you know, on the right cheek, that's the back of the hand, that is causing them insult, and it's you're telling them that they are lower than you. So when you turn the other cheek, you're saying, "No, I am not lower than you. I am your equal." So that's, you know, I just thought I'd toss that in there. That's just kind of a custom. Yeah, I like to do that. Oh, it's the teacher in me, I think. Okay, so what's that?
The Levite.
Yeah. Levita. Levita loca. Okay. All right. All now, um, 26. If you would begin reading 26 and go until the end of 29.
If a man strikes the eye of his male or female servant and destroys it, he shall let him go free for the sake of his eye. And if he knocks out the tooth of his male or female servant, he shall let him go free for the sake of his tooth. Go on to animal control laws.
Yeah.
Verse 28. If an ox gores a man or a woman to death, then the ox shall surely be stoned, and its flesh shall not be eaten. But the ox shall be acquitted.
Yes. Let's see. Go ahead and do the next one too.
Okay. Verse 29. But if the ox did the thrust with his horn in past times past, it has been made known to his owner and is not kept or confined, so that it has killed a man or a woman, the ox shall be stoned, and its owner shall also be put to death.
Okay, so this is responsibility for creating a dangerous situation that could cause not only bodily harm but death. And also, this ties into the prohibition of eating an animal that has been killed in such a way that it causes stress to the animal. In the laws of kashrut, the kosher laws for slaughtering and preparing meat, and what kind of meat you can eat. We're not to eat the meat of anything. We can't eat roadkill. Okay, we can't eat any. Yeah, right. But you can't eat an animal that's been has been slaughtered in a cruel or um, drawn out way. So you can't eat the meat of an animal that's been stoned to death. When an animal is slaughtered, it's done in the kindest and most as painless as possible, where it would have a very, very sharp knife. It cannot have any nicks in it. Um, and the animal, you know, its throat is cut so very swiftly and skillfully, so that basically the animal falls asleep and doesn't feel any pain. So, but here, if the animal is stoned, it's going to feel pain before it dies. So that's tied in there. Going back to 26, and it's talking about striking somebody's eye, and the eye is destroyed, or the tooth comes out. Then the servants are let go for the sake of this injury. Um, and that makes sense to me, because if you lose an eye because your master has abused you, or even a tooth because your master has abused, you're not going to be you're going to carry that unless you're like a super forgiving person. Um, it's I think there would be too much of a um, I don't know, too many bad feelings, and one would probably feel like they want to get even, or whatever. So that makes sense. Everything else makes sense. So, okay, moving on. Okay, um, all right. Let's see. Okay, starting at 30. If a sin covering is laid upon him, then he shall give the ransom of his life, whatever. Oh, I'm sorry, 29. Wait a minute. 30. 30. Thank you. Thank you. I need to be watched. Yeah. Give me boundaries, okay? Uh, that's why I don't go off-roading. Uh, Yeah, as an aside, you know, Craig and I were very different personalities, and they say opposites attract. I always tell people that I'm the balloon and Craig is my string. He keeps me grounded. So, yes, may all the balloons out there get their string, and may all those strings get their balloons so they know how to dream. So, okay, 30. I'm going back to 30. If a sin covering is laid upon him, then he shall give the ransom of his life, whatever is laid on, whether it has gored a son or gored a daughter, according to this right ruling, it is done to him. If the ox gores a male or female servant, he is to give to their master 30 shekels of silver, and the ox is stoned. So again, when you're responsible for somebody's injury or death, um, then you have to pay. You can't just get away with it. Okay, and John, if you would read from 33 to the end of the chapter.
And if it's a pit or the man digs a pit and does not cover it, and an ox or donkey falls in it, the owner of the pit shall make it good. He shall give money to their owner, but the dead animal shall be his. If one man's ox hurts another so that it dies, then they shall sell the live ox and divide money from it, and the dead ox they shall also divide. For it was known that the ox tended to thrust in past time, and its owner has kept it fine, shall freely pay ox for ox, and the dead animal shall freely be thrown.
Okay, so yeah, I mean it makes sense if you're responsible for um, somebody's animal going in a pit. And oxen were used to plow the fields, and if you could plow your field, you couldn't plant. And if you couldn't plant, you don't have food. Um, so this all goes. Huh?
That's like your tractor.
Yeah, it's your tractor, right? Yes, I call this ox John, dear John. Oh, John dear. So yes. So we all have to pay for causing injury, any kind of harm or death, especially. Okay, going on to chapter 22. And for those of you who are wondering out there what version of Bible I read, it's the Scriptures, ISR 1998. And I love that version, but anyone's welcome to read from whatever version that they have and they like. Okay, starting at verse 1 of chapter 22. And I'm going to take a sip before I do that. Okay, when a man steals an ox or a sheep and shall slaughter it or sell it, he pays 5 cattle for an ox and 4 sheep for a sheep. If the thief is found breaking in and he is smitten so that he dies, there is no guilt for his bloodshed. If the sun has risen on him, there is guilt for his bloodshed. He shall certainly repay. If he has not the means, then he shall be sold for his theft. If the theft is indeed found alive, or thief, oh, okay, this is if the theft is indeed found alive in his hand. Okay, so the article that he's stealing, whether it is an ox or donkey or sheep, he pays double. Okay, so oh, jumped. Okay, so here's a man who is stealing an ox or a sheep, and he sells it, he slaughters it, he sells it. He's gaining something, but he's gaining from something that he's stolen, so he's got to pay.
Unjust gain.
Yes, exactly. And then so it goes on in verse 2, if the thief is found breaking in, so he's breaking into the barn or the pen or into a house, um, wherever it is you keep your sheep, or your goods, um, and the man is, wake up, there's somebody in the house, and you've struck them and they die, um, then there's no guilt because this was done under cover of darkness, and you don't know who it is. If the sun has risen on him, there is guilt for his bloodshed. So, in other words, you see the man, you can, or a woman, it could be a woman, and you can chase them out of your house. Um, and that person says, "He shall certainly repay. If he has not the means, then he shall be sold for his theft." Okay, let me read that again. The sun rises on him, there is guilt for his bloodshed. Okay, I'm thinking of another scripture that's similar. Mm, okay, the thief is found breaking in, and he is smitten so that he dies. There is no guilt for his bloodshed. Okay, so the person that finds this this thief and strikes him, he dies. There's no guilt. If the sun has risen on him, there is guilt for his bloodshed. He shall certainly repay. If he has not the means, then he shall be sold for his theft. All right. It must be late for me because it's I'm missing it here. Um, and then it goes on to talk about if the theft is indeed found alive in his hand. Okay, so if the animal is found alive,
Lifestyle.
yeah, okay, then he repays double. Okay, all right. I've never had livestock stolen. I've had chickens I wanted to strangle, but you know, it's chickens. Um, they can get rowdy. Okay. Hmm. Any thoughts? No. Be stealing no oxen.
No,
Okay. All right. Okay, verse 5. If you would read 5, to the end of 8.
okay.
Mhm,
A man causes a field or a vineyard to be grazed and must animal, and it feeds in another man's field, he shall make restitution from the best of his own field and the best of his own vineyard.
mhm.
If a fire breaks out and catches in thorns, so that stacked grain, standing grain, where the field is consumed, he who kindled the fire shall surely make restitution. If a man delivers to his neighbor money or articles to keep, and it is stolen out of the man's house, if the thief is found, he shall pay double. If the thief is not found, then the master of the house shall be brought to the judges to see whether he has put his hand to his neighbor's goods.
Ah, that's interesting. Yeah, because if you give somebody something to guard and it's stolen, I mean, the person could say, "Oh, well, somebody stole it," but they themselves are hanging on to it. Um, so that needs to some kind of judgment, you know, investigation to see if that person has put his hand into his neighbor's goods. Okay. Um, for every matter of transgression, for ox, for donkey, for sheep, for garment, or for whatever is lost, which another claims to be his, let the matter of them both come before Elohim, and whomever Elohim declares wrong repays double to his neighbor. Now here it says Elohim, but in your version does it say judges?
Yeah, the King James judges.
Okay.
I was just going to,
Yeah, which I mean, which could be here they have Elohim is with a capital E, um, and Elohim means mighty ones, And I think if you're deciding the fate of somebody, um, then as judges, you would be considered mighty ones as well. I would also I would also put forth that as you are brought before judges, it's not only the judges that are determining what your fate is, but Elohim himself, Yahweh himself. It should that's any righteous judge should have Yahweh guiding their judgment. So,
Zechariah chapter 3,
mhm,
Joshua told them in the laws and ways of Yahweh
yeah,
that his courts, his courts.
yep, 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 exactly. Okay, all right. So going on. All right. When a man gives to his neighbor a donkey or ox or sheep or any beast to watch over, and it dies or is injured or is driven away while no one is looking, let an oath of Yahweh be between them that he has not put his hand into his neighbor's goods, and the owner of it shall accept that, and he does not repay. But if it is indeed stolen from him, he repays to its owner. If it is if it is torn to pieces, then let them bring it for evidence. He does not repay what was torn. Okay. So if you're guarding these animals and you're responsible for them, um, looks like, let's see. Okay, so there's an oath between them. What is in verse 11? What does it say in your version?
Says that the Lord Yahweh
Mm,
should be between both, that he that put his hand to his neighbor's goods, and the owner of it shall accept that, he shall not make it good.
okay. So basically, if something happens to this animal or these animals, and you know, if something's stolen out of your house that belongs to somebody else, you can do your best to try not to let that happen. Or if you're watching somebody's sheep and a wolf gets in the pen, it's kind of out of your hands. It's kind of out of your what's the word I'm looking for? You you really can't help that unless you're standing there 24/7. Um, but if it's found that you yourself are poaching this person's sheep that you're supposed to guard, um, then then you need to repay. Okay, so 13, if it is torn to pieces, then let him bring it for evidence. Okay, so if it shows that, some animal got in and tore this livestock to pieces, then he doesn't have to pay what was destroyed. Okay. Oh,
I had my own business. I'm
uh-huh.
shooting horses. If I brought any horse on my property and kept it like overnight, or
Mhm.
I had to have an insurance policy that I pay premiums on every year in order to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So they're custody and control
Mhm.
for it. If I went and got the horse out of the stall at the barn, I immediately assumed liability. So
Mm.
I would have somebody bring that animal to me,
Mhm.
so that way I'm not responsible for anything.
Right, right. That makes sense. I mean, that's the way I would see it too. Um, there's a lot of legal um, things here, and I'm sure if I was a lawyer, this is why I'm not a lawyer, because there's a lot, there's a lot of, well, if this or if that, but that's why there were judges at that time because they knew all the Mishpatim, they knew all the rules and regs, and it wasn't just one judge who could make the call. Um, there was more than one, so that they could talk among themselves and, what does it say? What's your opinion? So mhm. Yeah, exactly. I think of, this whole thing that's going on with, the former president that, there's one judge that has it out for him, and there's no other judges there seated with him saying, "Does it really say that in the law?" It becomes more of opinion than, uh, rightly, understanding and dividing the law. So, interesting. Okay.
Just scale.
Huh?
Just scale.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Like going to the butcher and the butcher is doing this on the top, but the customer is doing this on the bottom. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Starting at 14, if you would read um, to the end of next.
All right. And if a man borrows anything from his neighbor and it becomes injured or bad, the owner of it, with it, he shall surely make it good. If the owner, if its owner is with it, he shall not make it good. For if it was hired, it came for its hire. The moral and ceremonial principles. If a man entices a virgin who is not betrothed and lies with her, he shall surely pay the right price for her to be his wife. If the father utterly refuses to give her to him, he shall pay money according to the right price of virgins. Verse 18, you should not permit a sorceress to live.
Mhm.
Verse 19, who lies with an animal shall surely be put to death.
Okay. Um, yeah, that's kind of jumping into another. Yeah, I guess it should have ended at 17. I'm just kind of looking by how much to read. But yeah. Okay, so again, it's talking about a man who um, borrows from his neighbor, and this animal is injured or dies while the owner is not present. We shall certainly repay. The owner doesn't know what happened. So, but if the owner was with it, he does not repay. And this goes to what you were saying about, having the horse in the barn and, you know, having the owner bring the horse to you.
Yeah.
Um, and it says if it was hired, he's entitled to the hire. Okay. All right. So now we get into go from horses to maidens. And yeah, this this is something that um, many people can't relate to nowadays. That there would be a bride price, and nowadays it's like, um, yeah, dowry, yeah, um, yeah. So if he entices his maiden who's not engaged and lies with her, he shall certainly pay the bride price for his. So He has made it impossible for this virgin to be married. At that time, it was required. You had to be pure before you were married, and there were different things that they did to prove the purity of the bride. Um, because if, in this case, if the young woman were to become pregnant, then the child, especially if it was a male child who was helpful to the father and would be helpful to the family, um, if you don't know if that's your kid, then, you could either lose that kid or, to the attacker who says, "Oh, that's my son. He's gonna work for me." And this is still within the boundaries of stealing somebody's goods, and it sounds terrible nowadays referring to, the engaged woman being goods, but excuse me, but a young woman would bring something into the marriage, and, usually, like, Rivka when she was brought out to be married, and she was given all these clothes and jewelry and and lots of goods, um, to bring something into the marriage. Um, I think I only brought a crock pot, uh, and an Oster mixer. No, but I mean, really, it is what you bring into the marriage, and if this woman is no longer a virgin, don't know what they're bringing into the marriage, what extra they're bringing into the marriage, and it just cause a lot of problems, and also it is so important, especially in Middle Eastern cultures, they depend on the woman being pure before marriage so that they would know the lineage of the children. See, you I mean, you know, like, okay, I'm gonna use one of my sons. Alright. So, who David's mom is, and but to the outside world, but who's the father? They saw me, out to here, and so they knew, okay, she's the mom, and then when David made an appearance, okay, we know that part of the lineage, but who is the father? There's no real witness. You would only go by the word of mother. So that's why it's so important to, when a husband and wife come together, for the very first time, that they put all else aside until they're together, and nobody else is in the contract. Nobody else is in the mix. So,
soul ties.
yeah, yeah, and you could bring that into a marriage, and that's a mess too. Um, yeah, you don't know what generational curses you're bringing in.
Wasn't the high priest wasn't allowed to even marry somebody who's divorced
Right, right.
because what she could bring in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very serious stuff. Okay, so then we go from that to do not allow a practicer of witchcraft to live.
I'm not here.
Yeah, I know. Bye-bye. Yeah. Well, when you think about it, witchcraft, even the word witchcraft, which comes from, Wicca, which actually the word wicker, like a wicker chair, it comes from that same root because wicker is reed that's been twisted. Witchcraft is things that have been twisted. Rebellion is when you twist the rules. And So if you're bringing, if you're like witchcraft, it's the same type of thing happens if you bring foreign things into a marriage. You're twisting the rules concerning, keeping the marriage bed pure, keeping the lineage pure. Um, okay, and then we get to anyone lying with a beast shall certainly be put to death. That should not be done. That's witchcraft right there. That's twisting what Yah has said is good and proper into something that we see a lot of witchcraft nowadays. Traditionally we think, oh, some old hag dressed in black with a pointy hat, and stirring a cauldron, but that's doing spells. Um, that's just scratching the surface. Witchcraft can Witchcraft is rebellion. It's twisting. Yep, yep. Okay. All right. 20. I think it's my turn, right? Okay. All right. He who slaughters to a mighty one, except to Yahweh only, is put under the ban. Do not tread down a sojourner or oppress him, for you were sojourners in the land of Mitzrayim. Do not afflict any widow or fatherless child. If you do afflict them at all, if they cry out to me at all, I shall certainly hear their cry, and my wrath shall burn, and I shall slay you with the sword. Your wives shall be widows, and your children fatherless. Okay. So we see here, speaking of more than one wife here, and again, more than one wife um, is not Yahweh's best. It was allowed back in those days, but as he said, is because we um, huh?
It caused a lot of heartache.
Oh yeah. There was a program. It was about I guess, a fundamentalist Mormon family, and it was one husband who had 6 or 7 wives. And I mean, now, and he had to do it in such a way he could only marry one, and the rest were living with him as though they were his wife. He called them wives, and it just causes so much. Well, first of all, it causes a lot of stress. I don't know any woman who truly wants to share their man. I mean, uh, yeah, it's just wrong. It is just wrong. Oh man. I mean, my fangs come out if anybody looks at my husband. But no, I just smile and calmly say, "Wait." Keep looking over your shoulder. No. But, no, I just don't get that. But, back in the day, that was they had wives, they had concubines, which were kind of spare wives or however, and I don't know what the rules are, but, um, so so he's saying that if you do any of these things, if you afflict any widow or fatherless child, Yahweh has a heart for widows and for orphans. We're to treat them with respect, with love and care. We're to provide for them. And he says here, do not tread down a sojourner, a stranger who comes into your midst. Don't oppress them. Don't treat them um, badly, because you were once a stranger in a strange land in Mitzrayim, in Egypt. So it's about fairness, it's about mercy, compassion, um, yeah, yeah. What does the Lord require of you? That you do justly, you live mercy, and then you walk humbly with your God. Okay. Um, yeah. He's serious about that. Okay, John, uh, can you read 25 to the end of the chapter?
Any of my people who are poor among you, you shall not be like a money lender to him, you shall not charge him interest. If you ever take your neighbor's garment pledge, you shall return it to him before the sun goes down. For that is his linen covering and is his garment for his skin. What will he sleep in, and what will it be that when he cries to me, I will hear, for I am gracious? You shall not revile God, nor do not delay to offer the first of your ripe produce and your juices. The firstborn of your sons you shall give to me. Likewise you shall do with your oxen and your sheep. It shall be with its mother 7 days, and on the 8th day you shall give it to me. And you shall be holy, unto me. You shall not eat food torn by beasts in the field. You shall throw it to the dogs.
Okay, so this is a mixture of things. You know, we're not to practice usury, although it's practiced nowadays. Interest. I go for those no interest loans, or no interest financing. I'm just trying to keep the person honest. Um, okay, and then
I go on the night to get a loan. Out
yeah,
charges.
yeah, it says right here. These are my terms. Okay, if you take your neighbor's garment as a pledge at all, you are to return it to him before the sun goes down. Yeah, I mean, you don't want somebody, suffering from cold because you took their cloak. Um, so you make sure it gets back to them. In other words, if you took your neighbor's garment as a pledge, then do what you can to help them fulfill their pledge so you can return it to them. And for that is his only covering. It is his garment for his skin. And then it asks the question, what does he sleep in? Uh, yeah. Sometimes what we wear on our backs are the only things that we have. And we can't assume that people have the same um, provision that we have been given. So that's mercy. Then it goes on, do not revile Elohim nor curse the ruler of your people. Well, nowadays that's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to keep, your mouth shut with regards to who is ruling the people. But we're to we are to be discerners of truth, and we are to point out when something's wrong, but we're not actually supposed to curse somebody. We can point out their faults, hopefully for their good, so that they will be corrected, but um, we're not to put a curse on them. That's just wrong. Um, okay, and then do not delay giving your harvest and your vintage. Give me the firstborn of your sons. And this goes back to the, uh, the temple shekel. And uh, sometime we're going to go in to more on the temple shekel, and I'll bring my temple shekel, which I've got, because I'm a firstborn, so I got my shekel. Actually, I think it's a 5 shekel coin. Um, okay, awesome. Uh, Going on. Let's see. Likewise, you are to do with your oxen, with your sheep. Yeah, you're exercising mercy yet again. Don't take the young away from its mother too soon. Um, Give it a chance to start life well. And it's talking about being with a mother 7 days, and then on the 8th day, give it to me. This is done with male children, human children. Um, on the 8th day, that's when we dedicate the child to the Almighty. Um, And it's also the day when the levels of, um, antibodies, I think it's like vitamin K, is in the body to a certain point, so, the little boy doesn't bleed out when he has his Brit Milah, circumcision. Um
Clot-
Mhm.
Clotting factor. That's
Right,
vitamin K.
right, right. So, yeah, people to me, this tells me that people didn't just make up stuff. This was Yahweh. Only Yahweh would know that. So, and then instead of
Once again, not right.
yeah, yeah, science proves God. If people try to use science to disprove God, and they can't. He's the author of science. And then you are to set apart to me. Um, you do not eat any meat which is torn to pieces. Again, an animal who's torn to pieces in the field goes through trauma. You're being attacked, you're dying, and we're not doing that.
One thing too is like that. I don't know
Mm,
why anybody would want to because adrenaline
yeah,
ruins the taste of meat.
yeah, and also that trauma gets transferred to the consumer too. They say that their hormone level changes, and then the adrenaline. Not only does it taste bad, but it also can cause physical problems with the consumer. So, yeah. Okay, going on. Chapter 23. Okay, we're coming down the stretch. All right, chapter 23. Um, all right. Do not bring a false report. Do not put your hand with the wrong to be a malicious witness. Boy, is that timely. Do not follow a crowd to do evil, nor bear witness in a strife, so as to turn aside after many, to turn aside what is right. And do not favor a poor man in his strife. When you meet your enemy's ox or his donkey going astray, you shall certainly return it to him. When you see the donkey of him who hates you lying under its burden, you shall refrain from leaving it to him. You shall certainly help. So this reminds me of people who they leave their dogs in a hot car, and we're certainly within right to break that window and have mercy on the poor animal. Um, I mean, we're not to steal the animal, you call the police, let them know um, that you're going to open that window, or unless they want to open the window for you. Um, but we're supposed to have mercy. Here's meeting the enemies. Okay, meet the enemy's ox whose donkey gone astray. If you can do it, return it to them. You're doing them a kindness. Um, yeah. The first two verses, though, don't bring a false report. Yeah, yeah, that's the ninth commandment right there. Not bear false witness. And do not put your hand with the wrong to be a malicious witness, not to give false witness on the stand. Uh, do not follow a crowd to do evil. There is so much of that happening. I'm sure it happened with every generation, but it just seems like it's rampant now. People doing things because it's cool. You know, this whole, well, the first thing that comes to mind is this whole trans thing. It's a mental illness. It's a spiritual um, stronghold, and going with the crowd and trying to, you think you're helping the person by agreeing with them in their sin. We're not to do that. If we know it's evil, if we haven't, closed our ears, not wanting to hear the truth, if we know it's evil, we're not to go along with it. And so many people nowadays are going along with the crowd because it's cool. Many people are, engaging in this lifestyle because it's cool in their minds. It's cool, and it's not. In Yah's mind, it's not. Um, get
What I
down.
say, what I say about that too is, I'm not going to live a lie so comfortable.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm not gonna play. I'm not gonna play their game. They're gonna do what they're gonna do, but don't yeah, like you said, I'm not gonna play that game. I'm not gonna get in on their side of things because I know it's not right. So,
Yeah.
okay, all right, if you would read from 6 until the end of the year.
All right. You shall not pervert the judgment of your poor is dispute. Self are false matter. Do not kill the innocent and righteous. For I will not justify the wicked. And you shall take no bribe, for a bribe blinds the discerning and perverts the words of the righteous. Also, you shall not oppress a stranger, for you know the heart of the stranger, because you were strangers in the land of its right. Laws of the Sabbath. 6 years you shall sow the land and gather its produce. At the 7th year you shall let it rest and lie fallow, that the poor of your young people may eat, and when they leave, the beasts of the field may eat. In like manner you shall do with your vineyard and your olive grove.
Okay, so we're supposed to have that sabbatical year with our crops. We're supposed to let the ground rest.
Yes.
And I mean, this is such wisdom coming down from Yahweh. Um, and look what happens when you don't follow that. You subpar crops, or you don't have crops at all. Um, it's because it's 7. So that's yes, perfection and completion. Let it rest, leave it, and it talks about leave it, and the poor of your people shall eat it. We're supposed to allow people poor to glean the fields,
Yes.
the beasts of the field as well. Okay, all right, starting at 12, and we read this every weekend, every Shabbat. It's a reminder. 6 days you are to do your work, and on the seventh day you rest, in order that your ox and your donkey might rest. The son of your female servant, the sojourner, be refreshed. And in all that I say to you, take heed, and make no mention of the name of other mighty ones, let it not be heard from your mouth. Okay, so again, it repeats what was stated earlier in Shemot when we read the 10 commandments, the 10 words. 6 days we do our work, at the seventh day we rest because He and it's not only we rest, but our ox, our donkey, our servants, those who work for us, we're to give them time to be refreshed and all, as well. And it says, in all I have said to you, take heed. Okay, so he's saying, pay attention and make no mention of the name of other mighty ones that did not be heard from your mouth. So we're not even supposed to mention the names of foreign gods. Um,
I didn't know that last.
what's that?
I didn't know that until I was reading that last night.
Ah,
That scripture
mhm.
many times, and I didn't remember it.
Yeah.
It stood out to me.
Yeah, and it's hard to do. It's hard to do. Well, not really. It's not hard. If we just have to think before we speak, um, and that's a good um, thing to be able to do. Think before we speak, because what proceeds out of our mouth, you can't reel back in. And how can we speak the name of foreign gods with the same lips that we offer praise to the one true God? You know, it's like
And also,
somebody coming to your birthday party and you offer them punch out of the toilet bowl, you know? You know, you can't do that. You have to keep everything pure. It's purity, it's being set apart and holy. So, this is a good reminder. This is a good reminder because sometimes, you know, in speaking and also in teaching, you're trying to say this such and such a God, and you just don't wanna say their name. You don't wanna give them any more glory than than they're, entitled to, and they're entitled to none. So,
with because our words have very creative power
mhm, yeah, yeah.
into existence, something that we may not want to.
Yes, exactly. You know, I think of the movie Beetlejuice, you know? And just so you knew, Beetlejuice is Betelgeuse is the name of a, planetary, body. It's not a demon name. So it's just, but in the movie, they made it out to be this demonic guy. And, they would say his name 3 times, yeah, which is interesting that they do that because anytime that in scripture when something is spoken 3 times, and usually it's Yahweh who's speaking, it's to establish something. He's, um
Holy,
yeah, holy, holy, holy. Yeah, exactly. Right. So I mean, you can slip up and say something once and then take it back, but if you say it 3 times, you're establishing and you're sending it out there. So,
have is
yeah,
to pronounce the name of other gods.
yeah. That's a good question. That is a good question. Um, okay. I assume you're speaking of Baal. One of them. Yeah, yeah. Um, some of these names are titles. It's not really their name. Like when you say Baal, it's not his name, it's his title. It means master. Yeah. So like in the Michamocha Belim Adonai, Belim, among the gods, among the other, so the masters. Somebody else is master. Um, so, I think it would be worth saying, Abba, sift everything that comes to mind before it comes out of my mouth. So, um, yeah, okay. It's like when I mention somebody's name that has been, who is cursed, our people or who has done terrible things, and I usually go, "Toot, toot, toot," you know? It's like, basically I'm spitting their name out of my mouth, like, I mentioned their name, but toot, 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 it's gone, you know? But that's just what I learned. That's just my upbringing. Um, okay, so yeah, we're supposed to be very careful about whose name we utter and how we utter. When we utter the name of the Most High, we're to do it with respect and sense of awe. And that's supposed to be so. Okay. All right. Wow. All that for 2 verses. Okay. I'm gonna read some more. Uh, 3 times in the year you are to observe a festival to me. Guard the festival of unleavened bread, Pesach, 7 days of unleavened bread, as I commanded you, at the time appointed in the month of Aviv. For in it you came out of Mitzrayim, and do not appear before me empty-handed. And the festival of the harvest, the first fruits of your labors which you have sown in the field, and the festival of the ingathering, outgoing of the year. Okay, that's tabernacles. When you have gathered in the fruit of your labors from the field. Times in the year, all your males are to appear before the master Yahweh. Okay, so he's talking about the pilgrim feasts, and I'm not talking about Thanksgiving. Although we are to offer a thanksgiving for those feasts. Um,
Report to Jerusalem each time.
yes, 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 and that kind of points to the time of year that Yeshua was born in Jerusalem, or not in Jerusalem, Bethlehem, where Miriam and her husband Yosef were on their way to Jerusalem, but she went into labor and they stopped in the town which was their family's town. Friendly, they had people there. Sure, they had relatives there. Um, and when the census was taken, it would have been very convenient and timely for Rome to decide, well, let's get the people, we'll call a census when they would be gathering in Jerusalem anyway. And so, you've got 3 to pick from, and they decided on the Feast of Ingathering, the Feast of Tabernacles, Sukkot. And so that's another pointer to Yeshua being born at Sukkot. So, sorry to tell people he was not born December 25th. Sorry. That was my husband Craig. He was born in December 25th, and he tries not to show off by walking on water. So, um, and he's gonna let me have it when I get home because because I mean not in a bad way, but because we used to when we'd celebrate his birthday on December 25th, we used to say Merry Craigmas, but but he doesn't care for that. He doesn't like that, so it's like okay, we won't do it this year. So okay, so yeah, these are the pilgrim feasts that the males are supposed to show up there, and because these feasts are long, I mean, Pesach, 7 days, or 1 day plus add 7, so it's 8 days that you be there for Pesach. And then, of course, Sukkot, that's another, 8-day festival. You have Sukkot and then, um, the, um, the great Hallel at the end of it, which I thought it was kind of interesting how, okay, so we believe that Messiah Yeshua was born on the eve of Sukkot because it says in scripture, you shall call him Emmanuel, which which doesn't mean God with us. It means the God who tabernacles with us. So this is a hint of when he would be here, and tabernacles is a temporary dwelling. He would dwell with us temporarily during that time. So we believe he was born on the eve of tabernacles, and of course, 8 days later, his Brit Milah, his circumcision. It happens to be the day when we shout the great Hallel, Hallelujah! Well, that baby, when his baby's getting circumcised, is shouting. Been through that twice with both my sons, and they're noisy, but who could blame them? So, yeah, I mean, really, yeah. My husband's like, I hate this part. I mean, I have to sympathize with guys. It's a hard thing to you know, witness this happening to your son. But, it's hard, but it's joyful. Um, and it's hard for moms too, "That's my baby." Um, so, and it was the wisdom of the rabbis that as soon as the child is circumcised, you dip your little finger in wine and you put it in the baby's mouth. And, both of my boys were like, "I need relief." And it calms them down. It calms them down. So, yeah, yeah, so that's kind of an insight there. It's one of the traditions that we keep. So bring that wine. Okay, any comment that you have about those three feasts? Okay, okay, and I'm looking over here, okay, uh yeah, Chris Feitzinger is online watching us on YouTube. Shalom, Chris. And we have 4 on YouTube, and we have see how many we've got on Facebook. But we got a few. Sharon, Shalom, Sharon. She came online. Okay. All right. We're getting to the end soon. Wait, where was that? Okay. 18. Verse 18. And then let's see. Okay, for some reason my scriptures froze, but it'll come back. I brought my hard copy too, just in case. So if you can start at 18 and let's see. Um, go to the end of 23, 18 to 23.
Shall not offer the blood of my sacrifice with leavened bread, nor shall the fat of my sacrifice with yeast and wine. The first of your first fruits of your land you shall bring into the house of the Lord your God for Yah. You shall not boil a young goat in its mother's milk. What verse do you want me to stop with? 23?
Yeah, but let's stop temporarily here. And I may bring this up at Shabbat because, not everybody's watching tonight. But this is the verse right here, "Do not cook a goat in its mother's milk." It just kind of pops in there. It's talking about unleavened bread, it's, talking about the sacrifice, it's talking about first fruits of the land, and all of a sudden, "Do not cook a young goat in its mother's milk." And, the rabbis have kind of taken that and expanded on it, and that's why the Orthodox do not eat milk and meat together in the same meal. It's because of that verse, "Do not cook a young goat in its mother's milk." And it doesn't mean that we're not to have cheeseburgers. After all, when Avraham was visited by the angelic visitation, when the men were there, he offered them what? Meat and curds. So, I mean, if this was, um, Yahweh presenting himself in these men, he would have refused, and, "No, we can't eat that." No, they ate it. And so they I think the rabbis really kind of didn't know what to do with this just popping out all of a sudden out of left field here. So, okay, it must be important. So maybe we're not supposed to eat cheeseburgers. Um, but that's not what it means. So those who are adhering to rabbinical Judaism, rethink this because cheeseburgers are good. Yes. So, okay. So go ahead and read from 20 to 23.
Okay. Behold, I send an angel before you to keep you in the way and to bring you into the place which I prepared. Beware of him and obey his voice. Do not provoke him, for you will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. But if you indeed obey his voice and do all that I speak, then I will be an enemy to your enemies and an adversary to your adversaries. For my angel will go before you and bring you into into the Amorites and the Hittites and the Perizzites and the Canaanites and the Hivites and the Jebusites, and I will cut them off.
Okay. Okay. My for some reason my scripture here online is not moving. It's frozen, so I had to get my hard copy out, and so change my glasses to read this. So excuse me while I go from Clark Kent to Superman. Well, man, that ain't me. Okay. Oh, gee, and these are so dirty. Okay, so 23. All right, so it talks about, um, I gotta go back here. Okay, so he's going to send a messenger, an angelic visitation here, before you to guard you in your way and bring you into the place where I have prepared. So um, they're not going to the promised land by themselves without a map. Yah is providing them with all sorts of ways of finding where they're supposed to be. He sent the cloud by day, the pillar of fire by night. Here, um, um, sending the messengers, sending an angel before them on their way, and it says, "Be on guard before him and obey his voice." So I think this is what I think. This is one of many appearances of Messiah Yeshua in the um, Tanakh, because this is Yah speaking, and he's saying, "I'm sending a messenger." Someone giving my message could be an angel, could be a human messenger, could be um, spiritual messenger. It says, "Before you to guard you in the way." He goes on to say, "Be on guard before him." In my scriptures, it's got him capitalized. If it was just Malach, an angel, it wouldn't capitalize him. And then and he's saying, "Obey his voice."
We're not to obey.
Right, right. It says, "Do not rebel against him, for he is not going to pardon your transgression." So it shows that this messenger has the ability to forgive sin. To me, that points to Messiah Yeshua. And for those who don't see it, wake up! Wake up. And there's so many instances. I know, I know, I know. I love that. Then if you diligently obey his voice, again, capital H, and shall do all that I speak, so obey his voice, do everything I speak. Yeshua said that I only say what the Father is saying to me. So this is a picture of that. He goes on to say, "Then I shall be an enemy to you, or an enemy to your enemies." Um, let's see. Okay. But if you diligently obey his voice and shall do as I speak, then I shall be an enemy to your enemies. So he's going to be protective there and a distressor to those who distress you. For my messenger shall go before you and shall bring you into the Amori, the Hittite, the Perizzi, the Kenani, the Hivi, and the Yebusi, and I shall cut them off. So he's listing all these peoples that don't like Israel, and I'm sure we can trace a lot of these down to present day enemies. Um, and he says, I'll cut them off. Okay. All right. And this is good. It's working now. Yay! I just had to give it a rest. All right. Um, let's Okay. So, going on from verse 24. Do not bow down to their mighty ones, okay, their gods, nor serve them, nor do according to their works, but without fail overthrow them, and without fail break down their pillars. Wow. There was a news article not too long ago where I believe it was a Navy veteran who had gone into this public place. I think it was like the state capitol or something. And Satanists had erected this statue of the god that they worship. And this Navy veteran beheaded it, knocked it down, took its head off, And yeah, and he said, this is we're not supposed to have, this, this thing equal to the God who gave us the laws in which our state and the laws of our country are based on. And so he knocked this thing down, broke broke the display, took its head off. Um, you know, have you ever heard the story where and I think it's rabbinical. I don't know if it's based on anything. I don't know if it's from the apocrypha or other extra biblical writings, but there's a story of Abraham, whose father was an idol maker. He made idols and would sell them, and that's how he earned his money. And when Abraham became convinced that Yahweh is the only God and that's the one he's going to serve, he went in and destroyed all the idols in the tent or in the house, whatever, where his father had made them. He destroyed them, but he left one standing. And when his father came in and saw that, he was very angry. And he says, "What have you done, son?" And according to the story, this is a legend. Abraham says, "Oh, it wasn't me. It was that one right there. He hates all those other ones, and so he did it." So that's how he got away with destroying the idols. But anyway, this just reminds me of that story. You could have said, "Well, it was all the other some other idols who knocked down this satanic statue." Um, but anyway, we're not supposed to build idols. You know, second commandment right there. We're not to build the idols. We're not to um, allow them to be put up. And it says, uh, without fail, overthrow them. Without fail, break down their pillars. A pillar is like a pillar stone, which is a memorial to something great, and in this case, the memorial to their God. And we're supposed to break those down. And it goes on, and you shall serve Yahweh your Elohim, and he shall bless your bread and your water, and I shall remove sickness from your midst. Wow, that's why we're sick here in America. We're allowing none shall miscarry or be barren in your land. I shall fill the number of your days. Wow. Yep. I'm convinced that the reason a lot of things like this are plaguing us is because we've allowed these foreign gods and foreign um, ceremonies, really. I mean, the Satanists, they believe the Satanists have declared that abortion is one of their sacraments. They have declared it as an offering to their God. Um, we're not to have that in the land because we've allowed it. I think there's sickness, disease, hardship. So,
disobedience.
yeah, yeah, it's a price to pay. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. And let's see. I shall send my fear before you and cause confusion among all the people to whom you come, and make all your enemies turn their backs to you. In other words, I'm right behind you. I'm bringing up the rear. When they see you, they're going to see me, and they're going to head out. They're gonna be shaking in their bootsies, and they're going to be leaving. And of course, there have been many reports of that happening during the Six-Day War,
Oh
where
yeah.
the Egyptians seeing, "Who are those giant guys behind you?" and putting down their weapons. Even now, stuff like that is happening there in Israel. Yep, he's our protector. Okay, if you would read 28 to the end.
And I will send hornets before you, which shall drive out the Levite, the Canaanite, the Hittite before you. I will not drive them out in 1 year, lest the land become desolate and the beasts of the field become too numerous.
Mm.
Little by little I will drive them out from before you until you have increased and you inherit the land. And I will set your bounds from the Red Sea to the sea, Philistia, and from the desert to the river, where I will deliver the inhabitants of the land into your hand, and you shall drive them out before you. You shall make no covenant with them, nor with their gods. They shall not dwell in your land, unless they make you sin against them. For if you serve their gods, they will surely be submitted to you. And they disobeyed that one.
Yeah, they did. They did. Okay, go ahead in the last two verses.
32 and 33.
Yeah.
Okay. You should make no covenant with their gods. They shall not dwell in your land, lest they make you sin against them. For if you serve their gods, it will surely be a snare to you.
Yeah. Yeah. So long as we are under the protection of the king, yeah, and we're in obedience to the king, we're under his protection. And it's interesting. I'm sorry. You were going to say
That goes
something?
so well shall be the most high.
Mm-hmm. So under the shadow of his wings. Yeah. Um, verse 31. And I shall set your border from the Sea of Reeds to the Sea of the Philistines. Okay, it's the Mediterranean, because Philistia was right there, and from the wilderness to the river. This reminds me of that saying that the pro-Palestinian, are what they say, from the river to the sea. Well, we got to change that. From the sea to the river, the God of Israel will deliver. Amen.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, all right. We're we're almost there. We're almost there, and we're going a little long tonight. I think we're having fun. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Woot, woot. Yeah. I should have the disco lights going.
Let my
I know. I know. We took the deep dive. I'm going in. I know. I know. Two Kohanim, three opinions. Oh my goodness. Okay, so we are now in chapter 24. All right. And to Moshe he said, "Come up to Yahweh, you and Aharon, Nadav, and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel, and you shall bow yourselves from a distance." From a distance. But Moshe shall draw near to Yahweh by himself, and let them not draw near, nor let the people go up with him. And Moshe came and related to the people all the words of Yahweh and all the right rulings. And all the people answered with one voice and said, "All the words which Yahweh has spoken we shall do." And Moshe wrote down all the words of Yahweh and rose up early in the morning and built an altar at the foot of the mountain. and 12 standing columns for the 12 tribes of Israel. And he sent young men of the children of Israel, and they offered burnt offerings and slaughtered peace slaughterings of bulls to Yahweh. And Moshe took half the blood and put in basins, and half the blood he sprinkled on the altar. So he's doing the priestly duty at this time, and he's um, establishing a pattern that Yahweh had put on him to do. It's talking about an altar at the foot of the mountain. There, I was watching a documentary where they actually found Moshe's altar at the foot of I think they call it Jabal Musa in Arabic, Moses Mountain, and they think they found Mount Sinai, and they found the altar, and they found, and now they were the remnants of the 12 pillars they found, and spring there, which you needed to have the spring in order to do the sacrifices. And there's no spring anywhere else in that area. It's just right there. So they're pretty convinced that this is the spot. So pretty cool. I told Craig I would like to bring that video for the congregation to watch sometime. It's very interesting. Okay. All right. If you would read from 7 to 12, end of 12. Yeah.
They said, all that Yahweh has said we will do. Moshe took the blood, sprinkled it on the people, and said, this is the blood of the covenant which Yahweh has made according to all these words. Then Moses went up, and Moshe went up, also Aaron, and 70 elders of Israel, and they saw Yahweh of Israel. And there was under his feet, as it were, a paved work of sapphire stone, and it was like the very heavens in its clarity. The nobles of the children of Israel, he did not lift his hand, so they saw Yahweh, and they ate. And Yahweh said to Moshe, come up to me on the mountain and be there, and I will give you the tablets of stone, and the law commandments which I have written, that you may teach them.
Okay. All right. So, verse 10, they saw the Elohim of Israel, and under his feet, like a paved work of sapphire stone, and like the heavens for brightness. It's said that his throne is made of sapphire, and that's one of the reasons that blue thread is a connection. That blue thread that's on the tzitzit, it represents the Almighty and his authority, because his throne is that color of the sky, the color of sapphire. So what they're seeing is his feet on, when you see a throne, like illustrated on some of these biblical movies, you'll see the throne, but you see a footrest. So that which is part of that throne. So that's what they were seeing. Blue, it says like a paved work of sapphire stone, and like the heavens for brightness. So it was the color of the heavens. Um, okay, so all right. And these tablets of stone, it said that the tablets were actually that color also. Um, and the Torah, the instructions, and the command which I have written to teach them. So um, he's proposed to his bride. They said, "Yes, what you say, we will do." So they said, "I do." It's a wedding. It's a wedding happening here, and so he says to Moshe, "The best man, come up to the mountain and give you basically the, the wedding ring, or the ketubah, and the Torah." is written. Okay. All right. Starting from verse 13. And Moshe arose with his assistant Joshua, and Moshe went up to the mountain of Elohim. And he said to the elders, wait here for us until we come back to you. And see, Aharon and Hur are with you. Whoever has matters, let him go to them. In other words, while I'm away, you guys are going to take charge. Verse 15. And Moshe went up into the mountain, and a cloud covered the mountain. There's that chuppah coming down. And the esteem, the glory of Yahweh dwelt on Mount Sinai. The cloud covered it for 6 days. There's the 6 days. And on the seventh day, he called Moshe out of the midst of the cloud. And the appearance of the esteemed glory of Yahweh was like a consuming fire on top of the mountain before the eyes of the children of Israel. And Moshe went into the midst of the cloud and went up into the mountain. And it came to be that Moshe was on the mountain 40 days and 40 nights. Okay, so that's the end of the reading. I want to, and again, here we have, we're doing something for 6 days. And then on the seventh day, it's the completion of the process. So, again, yeah, he's very carefully uses certain numbers to get a point across, um, to get our attention, to get his point across. And also, it's easier to remember 7. He doesn't do something, well, you're going to do this for 3 days, and you're going to do that for 9, and then this, well, you can do that for 11, or it's uses 7 a lot when it's important things, when it's something that's going through a process. And like the creation was a 6-day process, and then it's completed. On the seventh day, it's got the stamp of his approval. So, okay. Anything you'd like to add? It's a good reading. Yay! Really, really good. Okay. Well, I'm glad everybody could join us for this reading. And oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Craig had a frozen screen, but it's okay. All right. Oh, he's laughing at the Abraham and idol story. I'm glad you appreciated that. Okay. All right. Well, I'm glad everybody could join us on both uh, YouTube and Facebook. And I wanted to remind everybody that um, we do this every Wednesday evening at 6:30, rain or shine. Right now, we're doing it online only throughout this month, and starting next month, we're going to get together live with everybody, with people here and online. So um, no excuses. Watch the program or participate. We'd love to have you come here and do this with us and share what the Lord puts on your heart. Also, every Sabbath, every seventh day, Neve Shalom, Oasis of Peace, meets at 1 p.m. And we meet at 521 South State Street, Belvedere. We are in Suite 7. And we would love to see everybody come and fellowship and worship with us. And also, we have a bookstore that where we can help with providing products for people um, to have to help them in their walk, in their messianic walk. And so we have TLC, Books and Blessings, the Learning Torah Learning Center, Books and Blessings, and we have Bibles, books, oils, anointing oils, CDs, candles, jewelry, shofars, talits, And if you can't find it here, we will order for you. We are open Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 1 o'clock, and we are open until 6 p.m. Okay, and let's see. Oh yes, and I want to remind everybody if you are new at this and you want to learn how to celebrate the Sabbath in a practical way, the my book's still available at and in the bookstore and also on Amazon. I put up our little QR code so you can use your cell phone camera and it'll take you to where to order it if that's what you like to do. And also, here's the, let's see, there it is. That's the book. You would like a signed copy, you can always get one at the bookstore. Okay, well, I guess that is um, pretty much it for this evening. I thank everybody for joining us and contributing. Thank you, John, for being a wonderful reader and putting your insight in. The more the merrier. The more the merrier. Okay, so I hope everybody will join us for the Sabbath and also nights. And until we meet again, shalom, shalom.